part 2 of my ins and outs video. I am going to talk about what is in for me this year. Okay, one thing that is in for me going into 2024, it is something that's already been in for me for the past couple of years, but is carrying into this new year, is mystery and privacy. I feel like we're in the age of social media where everybody knows what you eat, who you hung out with, what you did, what you wore, every detail about your life. And that is out for me again this year. I want to maintain an element of privacy and mystery in my life. I think that is fun. I think it's exciting. I don't like the idea of announcing everything on social media. Like, I want to know people because I personally know them. Outside of like influencers and stuff like that, I think it's really cool when they like let you in on their life. But I think for like personal relationships in my life, I really want to emphasize knowing people because I know them and because I talk to them and spend time with them, versus I know them because I follow their social media but have no personal relationship with them. So mystery is in for me this year. Not over explaining myself to people if I have to be out for an appointment or need time off, things like that. One of my pet peeves when it comes to lack of mystery is which I said these are things that are like in just for me, and I'm not saying this is in for everybody. This is like a very personal in and out, but something I just never want to do is like when people announce that they're leaving social media. Like, anybody who needs to contact you will contact you. And I think like just keeping things to myself. Next is being bored. This is something that was on my in list last year. And it's definitely one that's kind of hard to keep up with, especially because there's so much entertainment at our fingertips through our phones. But I want to keep giving myself the opportunity to be bored. I think that's where true innovation and creativity and inspiration come from. I think so many of us lose that aspect of ideas that we would come up if we were bored because we never allow ourselves to be bored because of the constant entertainment that's at our fingertips. Being bored allows your mind to rest. It allows you to have unique thoughts that are yours and yours alone, and not from something you have consumed on your phone or through shows or anything like that. Along with being bored, and I think this comes from being bored a lot or just doing things alternative to the phone, is true inspiration. I want this to be the year of true inspiration for me, not just copying things and emulating things that I see online, but getting inspiration through art, through music, maybe through movies, from the people around me. That's a really big source of inspiration for me. And sorry, I cracked my neck. That's a really big source of inspiration for me. And I want that to be my focus of inspiration this year, not necessarily just copying what I'm seeing online. Quality is in 2024. That goes for friends, clothes, products, food. Quality is in for me, and I hope this is also one that never goes away. I think as you get older, you realize quality over quantity is such a deep concept. And when I was younger, I wanted a massive group of friends and I wanted a huge wardrobe and, all the things. Now, I would definitely take a smaller wardrobe if it's higher quality clothes. I would definitely take a smaller group of friends if they're higher quality friendships. I think impulse spending being out for me is definitely going to help with this. Keeping quality at the forefront, I think, will also help me be very intentional in how I invest in my friendships and relationships. Okay, this one is actually kind of difficult to explain, but I feel like so important. Letting others reject you instead of rejecting yourself. This is something I have done my whole life. I will tell myself no before other people get the chance to, because I would rather do it on my terms than allow someone else to tell me no. And I think in doing that, I have probably cheated myself out of a lot of amazing opportunities, experiences, and relationships. And I think my fear of failure or fear of rejection often keeps me from doing that. Obviously, there is some healthy fear out there that helps you make wise decisions But if the only reason I'm not doing something is because I'm being afraid of being rejected, I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to give other people the chance to reject me, put myself out there, develop a thicker skin, and I think a lot of times it ends up working out in your favor when you put yourself out there. So that's in for me this year. In certain instances, letting others reject me instead of rejecting myself first. Silence is in this year, in the car, while I eat, while I'm doing tasks. This goes along with being bored, being in, really giving my mind time to think. So for me, this looks like not playing something in the car all the time, whether it's like a podcast or music, just having a car ride in silence. If I'm eating by myself, not having a YouTube show going. If I'm doing the laundry or doing dishes, just doing the task. I think monotasking is really in for me and trying to cut away some of the multitasking. I think monotasking, silence, and being bored kind of all go hand in hand with each other on how I'm searching for stillness and letting my mind rest, and really in that giving space to hear from the Lord and not just regurgitating the thoughts and things that I have consumed. This one is a little shallow maybe, or silly. Formal clothes are in for me this year. I think over 2020 and 2021, with the work from home lifestyle that we all had, sweatsuits became the norm, casual became the norm more than ever. I want to be a little bit more intentional with how I dress, putting effort in, and not just at work, but also in the days off of work. A lot of times I will dress up for work, but then on my days off, I look like a complete slob. So I think being a little bit more formal is in for me this year, and intentional with clothing. Next is hard conversations. This has been out for me my whole life, and I think it's in for me this year. I really want to become better at having hard conversations and doing them well. I think before, when I would have hard conversations, a lot of times I would just cry or be upset or shut down and withdraw. I want to be able to effectively have a hard conversation, maturely respond, be able to maintain relationships, and walk away from the conversation, be like, yeah, that was a hard conversation, but we did it and we can move on from here. Okay, my dog is barking. Hopefully that's not coming through super bad, but long attention span is in for me this year. I have noticed how short my attention span has gotten in the past few years, and it's honestly disgusting. So I really want to work on my attention span this year. I want to become more easily impressed. I feel like we are an overstimulated generation to the point where nothing is impressive. This morning, people could be doing like quadruple backflips in front of us with fire coming out of their mouths, and we'd be like, oh yeah, like whatever, I saw that on TikTok last night. I want to become a more interested person in things, and I want to become less desensitized to things that are exciting in the world. I feel like social media desensitizes you to exciting things. And be able to pay attention better. I think the constant stimulation makes it to where the attention span just gets shorter and shorter and shorter, to where I heard the other day on TikTok, like basically you have someone's attention span for 3 seconds before they swipe up to the next video if they're not interested, which is so short, and I'm guilty of it myself. So that is out for me this year. I do not like that about myself, and I want to change that. This one is kind of interesting. Being able to disagree. Our culture has lost the art of being able to disagree, and I'm right there too. It's so easy to get offended when you don't agree with someone, or you feel like if you disagree that you can't maintain relationship with that person. I really want to be someone who I can have those hard conversations with that I talked about earlier, disagree with them, but then move on. And I think that's definitely a sign of maturity. Not taking everything personal is so important for that. And I definitely want to work on that, because most things aren't personal. Most things are other people's own personal issues, has nothing to do with me. So being able to disagree and not take things personally, so important to me this year to work on that. And not become offended and have my feelings hurt, because realistically, it's not about me most of the time. Last one, and this is my favorite one, is femininity. Pretty much my whole life I have been a girly girl. I do have an aspect of my personality where I love doing like outdoorsy things and, you know, being in the country and doing all that kind of stuff. But to my core, I have always been a feminine, girly girl, and I really want to continue to embrace that this year, almost to the point of being a little high maintenance. And I think that's okay. I think our culture of convenience and immediacy has made us do away with some of the practices that might have been seen as like a little bit more high maintenance. But I don't think high maintenance is necessarily bad as long as you're not a spoiled brat about it. I think good things take time. And so I think being a little high maintenance, being a little specific about your hair or your makeup or whatever it is that makes you feel feminine, maybe it's the books you read or the things you do. And I think you can be a little high maintenance while still being down to earth. I know those sound very contradictory to each other, but I definitely think it's true. And I've seen some very, very classy ladies master this art. And so I think for me, I'm gonna work on still being down to earth, of course, because I think that's most important, but being a little bit more high maintenance, getting rid of convenience being king, and really embracing things that make me feel feminine, that make me feel like a lady, things that I really enjoy as a woman, embracing womanhood as God sees it, not as the culture sees it. That is the most key part of femininity for me, is redesigning what I interpret as feminine, because I think our culture has tried to redefine what being feminine is, and it does not align for me with what the Word of God says being feminine is. So I really want to do kind of a deep dive study on femininity and just really lean into that this year. And that is probably the one that I'm most excited about. So this wraps up my ins and outs for 2024. I'm sure I'll probably think about this video later tonight and tomorrow and think about things I said wrong or should have said differently, but that is essentially the gist of what I was saying. Again, these are things that are in for me personally, things that I have observed and I want to become part of my life or remove from my life, however that works for this specific one. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you did. I feel so crazy for saying that.